Every day in the morning, if you start your day with this simple thought in your mind, that today, wherever I go, I will create a peaceful, loving and joyful world. If you fall down 100 times in a day, what does it matter? For a committed man, there is no such thing as failure. If you fall down 100 times, 100 lessons to be learned. If you look at what you really want, what every human being wants is, he wants to live joyfully, he wants to live peacefully. In terms of its relationships, he wants it to be loving and affectionate. Or in other words, all that any human being is seeking for is pleasantness within himself, pleasantness around him. This pleasantness, if it happens in our body, we call this health and pleasure. If it happens in our mind, we call this peace and joy. If it happens in our emotion, we call this love and compassion. If it happens in our energy, we call this blissfulness and ecstasy. This is all that a human being is looking for. Whether he is going to his office to work, he wants to make money, build a career, build a family, he sits in the bar, sits in the temple, he is still looking for the same thing. Pleasantness within, pleasantness around. If this is what we want to create, I think it's time we addressed it directly and commit ourselves to creating it. So you want to create yourself as a peaceful human being, joyful human being, loving human being, a pleasant human being on all levels. And do you also want a world like this? A peaceful world, a loving world, a joyful world? No, I want greenery, I want food. When we say a joyful world, that means everything that you want has happened. So this is all that you're looking for. So all that you need to do is commit yourself to creating it. To create a peaceful, joyful and loving world, both for yourself and everybody around you. Wherever I go, whichever part of the world I am in, not a single day passes for me without witnessing tears of joy and love around me. Every day, somebody will be shedding tears of love and joy. I don't think there's a better way to live in this world and all of us should strive to create our own circles of joyfulness and pleasantness around us. Because if you are not joyful by your own nature, if you're always going around with the fear of suffering, as long as fear of suffering is there within you, you will never walk your life with full stride. It'll always be half a step. Most human beings have crippled themselves simply because of fear of suffering. What will happen to me is always the question. Whatever happens, this is how I will be. If this assurance comes to you, only now you will want to scale the peaks of life and see, what about it? If it happens, makes no difference to you. If it doesn't happen, makes no difference to you. That's when you would like to really explore every dimension of life. So first and foremost thing is this, that your way of being is not determined by what's around you. If you bring this one aspect to you, there is no fear of suffering. Once there is no fear of suffering, you will traverse the breadth and length of this life without hesitation.
Now suffering, please look at it and see, people are capable of suffering just about anything. People are suffering their well-being, people are suffering their illness, people are suffering loneliness, people are suffering togetherness. Is it so? People are suffering poverty, people are suffering affluence, is it so? People are suffering discomfort, people are suffering comfort, is it so? So they are capable of suffering anything. So obviously, they are creating suffering. Yes? If you look at yourself, this life energy which you call as myself sometimes has been very blissful. Has it been? Joyful and blissful at certain times. Sometimes it's been absolute turmoil, sometimes peaceful, sometimes agony, sometimes ecstasy. Has it gone through all this? So it is capable of finding all these various expressions. So if it is capable of all this, if only if you had little mastery over your life energies, what would you instruct your life energies to be? Misery or joy? So people who have no control over their systems, they're talking suffering is inevitable. No, suffering is not inevitable. Suffering is self-created.
Just show me one thing that human beings are not suffering right now. Just show me one aspect of life that human beings are not suffering right now. They're suffering just about anything. Not just life, they're even suffering death before it happens. That which is and that which is not, everything they suffer. This is not. You are not suffering loneliness, you are not suffering company, you are not suffering money, you are not suffering poverty. What you're suffering is, you're half alive. You're desperately trying to make yourself fully alive through money, through drink, through sex, through going on a trek, coming to the ashram. In so many ways, you're somehow trying to make yourself fully alive, which is yet to happen fully. Here and there you feel a burst of aliveness, but again it ebbs down. So, when people are constantly half alive, pleasure becomes an important part of your life, very important part of your life. Without it, you cannot exist. Pleasure becomes paramount in your life when you're only half alive, when physicality is all that you know. Pleasure becomes of immense importance in your life. If you become fully alive, you will become so blissful, joyful, ecstatic without reason, bursts of ecstasy within you without any reason. It's almost embarrassing. Now, the thought of pleasure just evaporates. Looking for a drink, looking for some kind of pleasurable thing just evaporates out of your mind because you're fully alive. When you're fully alive, pleasure disappears. When you're half dead, pleasure is an important thing. Everything we as human beings have created on this planet was essentially first created in our minds. All that you see, which is human work on this planet, first found expression in the mind, then it got manifested in the outside world. The wonderful things that we have done on this planet and the horrible things that we have done on this planet, both have come from the human mind. So if we are concerned as to what we create in this world, it's extremely important that first of all we learn to create the right things in our mind, how we keep our minds. If we do not have the power to keep our minds the way we want it, what we create in the world is also going to be very accidental and haphazard. So learning to create our minds the way we want is the basis of creating the world the way we want. Every day in the morning, if you start your day with this simple thought in your mind, that today, wherever I go, I will create a peaceful, loving and joyful world. If you commit yourself like this to creating what you really care for, now your mind gets organized. Once your mind gets organized, the way you think is the way you feel, your emotion will get organized. Once your thought and emotion is organized, your energies will get organized in the same direction. Once your thought, emotion and energies are organized, your very body will get organized. Once all these four are organized in one direction, your ability to create and manifest what you want is phenomenal. You are the creator in many ways. That which is the source of creation is functioning within you every moment of your life. It is just that, have you kept access to that dimension or not? Organizing the four basic elements of your life will give you that access. There are tools and technologies to do this. The whole science of yoga, the whole technology that we refer to as yoga is just about this, transforming yourself from being just a piece of creation to become a creator. It is my wish and my blessing that every human being in this world should have this access to the source of creation within himself, so that he can function here as a creator, not just as a piece of creation.
It is not the amount of action but the depth of experience that makes life rich and fulfilling. If you gain a little more mastery over your mind, body, and life energies, you can become the master of your destiny. Oil is not just about agriculture, it is about life. The microorganisms in the soil are the foundation of life. If they do not thrive, there is no way we can thrive. The masculine and the feminine are two aspects of who you are. If you are identified with one part, you will be half alive. Being a leader does not mean dominating the situation. It means empowering people to do what they would not have imagined possible.